What's up? Alex from LearnBeachVolleyballFast.com here. Today I'm in a little bit of a deeper mood, so it's going to be time for one of these deeper videos. One of the videos that maybe don't necessarily give you straight away tips on how to get better at beach volleyball straight away, but one of these videos that over time might just save you tons of time by giving you better direction in your beach volleyball career. There's an analogy that I haven't talked about before on this channel, but if you think of a ship and you're basically sailing from one place to another, a lot of the how-tos, the tips, the how to set, how to receive, how to hit, they're basically like how to get the ship to move faster. And these deeper videos are a little bit more like making sure that the ship is actually headed in the right direction, because if you're taking a detour to your destination, it doesn't really matter how fast your ship is. Someone with a much slower ship could get to the goal much faster than you, just because they actually know the direction that they're gonna go. So I hope that makes sense. That's kind of the reason why I make these deeper videos as well. And yeah, basically because I believe that they can ultimately help you even more in learning the sport faster. It's counterintuitive. It's not as fun in a way. It's a little bit, in a way, harder work to watch and think about these kind of things, but the returns can just be huge once you actually make sure that you steer the ship in the right direction. Okay, so the topic of this video is kind of a double one. It's what does learn beach volley fast actually mean? And the reason with this video is kind of twofold. One, it's to get people to understand this project better, but most of all, it's to basically give you ideas to, again, think of your beach volleyball career in bigger ways, in more nuanced ways, in a more, some people call it holistic view. Basically just looking at every possibility that you actually have towards moving forward and then choosing the best one. So Learn Beach Volleyball Fast, that's what I chose as this project name. And I've been thinking of changing it. I've been thinking of maybe it's not the right name. People seem to sometimes misunderstand it, etc., etc. And then sometimes people say it's like the most clear name that you can have. Like it literally says exactly what the project is. And I guess I've come to conclude that I agree with that last thing. It's Learn Beach Volleyball Fast is exactly what this project is. Like, this project is about finding more and more ways to get to your beach volleyball goals faster, basically, because that's all I wanted to do myself when I started the sport. And I in a way, I believe that's what all beach volleyball players want to do. So anyway, the misunderstanding that has sometimes happened is that people think that I'm a coach that brings complete beginners to some sort of intermediate level as quickly as possible by using a bunch of dirty tricks and like not really learning things properly and like basically cheating your way forward. So some people have interpreted this project as being only that, and my answer to that is that's not necessarily false, but it's absolutely not true either. So when I thought about how to describe this, I was like, I need to have some sort of example, and I think I'll have a money example here. Maybe you'll learn something new about money too, I don't know. Anyway, if someone says like, I need to make money fast, what should that person do? Well, that depends kind of on a lot of variables. It depends on their circumstances, their age, their education, their skills, whatnot. Like, for some person, making money fast might mean to go and get a grocery store job, like the first one that you can find. Just go and do hours, ask for overtime, blah blah, and in a month's time you'll have a lot more money. For some other people, for some other person, the best thing might be to just go and ask someone, hey, can I get a loan? Because in a way, yeah, you're getting a lot of money fast when you take a loan. The thing is, though, that both of these examples, if someone would have a more long-term view, maybe they're not the best ways to go forward. Like, if you take a loan, you need to pay that back sooner or later, and if you work at a grocery store, your salary might get like a cap, like, you know, at one point your salary won't rise anymore, and basically you have this hour for amount of money trade going on all the time, and that's not necessarily gonna change, and you're not gonna get more hours in a day, so you can't really outgrow the system in a way. So some other people might say, well, to get out of that problem, to get a higher salary, you need to go to university and get a degree and get a proper job, so to say. And that's true also. Someone might go and go to university and become a doctor, and they'll have a higher salary than someone who works in a supermarket. And in some senses, that's making money quicker than other people. Absolutely. But then again, in some other sense, that person going to school is gonna, they're not gonna make a salary while they're in school. They might need to take loans. They might be a lot in debt when they're done with school. So basically, if you have like a 5-year perspective, they're losing a lot of money in those 5 years, with the expectation to make that money back later. So I hope you start. My point here is that making money fast is complicated. It depends on your timeline and how big of a picture view you have. Then again, some people might argue that even if you become a doctor, you're still trading hours for money, which means that you still have a salary. Yeah, you might be able to do a lot to get that salary higher, but at some point the salary is gonna probably stay what it is, and to make more money you need to work more hours, and you unless you absolutely love doing your job, you might see your days and your time here in life just go away without you doing what you want to do in life. So some people could see that that's a problem. We've all probably at one point had this idea that, what if I could just come up with this invention? Like, what if I could come up with the next iPhone or next super knife that everybody needs or whatever, and if we just came up with that little invention and got the patent and whatnot, we would be rich for the rest of our lives. And I'm just taking this example because a lot of people will have had those thoughts at one point or another. And if you break that down from a money, maybe business perspective, that basically means that you're coming up with an idea that you can sell over and over and over again, because you come up with that knife design or whatever it might be, and every knife that's produced after that you get a small cut from. So you're not necessarily doing a lot more work per knife after you come up with the idea. So the big value is really in the creation of the idea. And this is where we have detached basically our own hours to how much money we make, and we have in a way hacked the system. So some people might argue that that's the way you should go forward if you want to make a lot of money fast. But then again, on another point, it might not be super easy to come up with that idea. It might take years, it might never happen, there might be a risk involved and whatnot. So I hope you just agree with me that it's complicated. And So what's going on with beach volleyball then, and why am I talking about this example? Well, beach volleyball is also complicated because there is, as I said before, you could take complete beginners and just give them some hacks. One of the easiest hacks might be, this is actually a good example, send the ball over on one, just one touch. Never, don't send the problem over the net, as they say. Just get rid of the problem, which is the ball. Let the opponents do the mistakes. Let them use their bad ball control and make you points, basically. And we all know that, at the absolute beginner level, that's an absolute genius tactic. Like, it works like hell. It absolutely, really works. But as soon as we get up a little bit in the levels, well, it's not gonna work anymore. And while this example seems pretty obvious for probably a lot of beach volleyball players, and it makes sense, and they're like, yeah, of course it's like that. What's not as obvious is that the same type of effect happens a lot more times also in higher levels of beach volleyball. So also from getting to intermediate to advanced, or advanced to pro, or whatever, there's same type of similar effects happening. So just as an example, in the beginning of this summer, I'm basically coaching some groups this summer, and in the beginning of the summer I had a small little talk at the first practice where I basically told the players that, hey, this is the first practice and we're gonna have practices over the summer for 3.5 months here. I want you to go home and think about your future as a beach volleyball player. For example, we're gonna practice a lot of attacking this summer, but I actually want you to think about what path you want to go forward, because there's a lot of different paths to go forward from like a somewhat advanced level to a higher level as an attacker. One of them, for example, could be to retrain your spiking technique. Basically, learn to spike in a more efficient manner, use your body in a more efficient manner. Another way might be to skip number one completely. Just learn to see the court on the way up to the ball, or basically in your approach. See the court and learn to shoot all the corners of the court. And that's also a way to get better at attacking, which is just completely different from retraining your spiking technique, in a sense. And a third way forward could be to just become, if you know who Carambola is from, he plays for Italy. Basically, get a partner that you play with and set up a system of plays, a system of like passes and sets that's basically both of you know, which basically tricks the opponent and the blocks and whatnot, so that you can easier score points. And that's in a way also a way to get better as an attacker, but it doesn't necessarily include any of the two first ones. It's a completely different path to walk down, but you still get the same end result, which is more scored balls as an attacker. And the problem, I think, is that people don't think like this. It seems like a lot of people have this kind of just one way forward, like this is how you play beach volleyball, this is how it's supposed to be, this is how you're supposed to do it. And they lack this like, it's almost like you have different layers and different dimensions of ways to do things. They can't see this alternative ways to move forward in a way. Like, for an example, if I have a player that I just like, they literally just physically can't get so high over the net, like maybe they're a little bit shorter and maybe they don't jump super high, and they literally can't get so much over the net that they can physically hit the ball downwards. And of course you can change your physique, you can go to the gym and work out and whatnot, but I also like the person literally says that they don't want to do that because that's not the goals they have in beach volleyball. Like they're doing it more kind of for fun, so they're not gonna spend hundreds of hours in the gym getting their vertical up, basically. what I see a lot of times is these people get coached the exact same things as everyone else. These people get coached the same attacking technique. People are trying to teach them how to hit the ball, down, even though it's physically impossible, etc., etc. And it's just completely. There's no nuance. There's no looking at who the person actually is. What do they have in terms of physicality, motivation? How much are they gonna practice? What are their goals with beach volleyball? What do they want to become? Is it, basically what are their goals? And then set up a plan according to that. Another thing I very, very, very often see, and this happens very often when I coach people. So if I coach someone that I have had these conversations with, I know what they want. I know how motivated they are. I know kind of how they want to move forward. And maybe we have decided that, okay, this player is going to learn to see the court and shoot all the corners, because that's basically that's the smartest way forward for them right now. And it's funny, in beach volleyball there seems to be some sort of culture that a lot of people just come and say their opinion. Like they'll just start coaching from nowhere without people asking for it. So it's funny, sometimes people just show up next to the court, like see we're practicing, and they're like, hey, but you need to do like this to jump. Like they start teaching spiking technique when we're just completely working on something completely different. And we have talked through the plan, and we have decided that this is what we're gonna do because it's smarter. And it's I'm probably gonna make more videos or podcasts about that in the future. But basically, people that are very quick to give advice in beach volleyball, they just like show up, look at one repetition, like, oh, you need to do this. There's a somewhat high correlation with that and not thinking through things before you basically give advice. Like, I'm not saying that all quick advice is bad, far from it. It can definitely work. But people that just like shout out things like straight away, I've seen very unlikely to think about the deeper things to well, they're probably never gonna watch this video if we say so. Anyway, the point is that just like in the money example, how to make money fast is complicated and it depends on a lot of variables. So does beach volleyball. And in general, I seem to think that people have this sort of in-between route on how to go forward. Like, therefore, like these semi-motivated average athletes types of people, that general advice that people just shout out is somewhat accurate, actually, quite often. The people that most often happen to get sent down not optimal paths by quick advice is usually the people that have some sort of well, maybe they don't have super high goals, or maybe they don't have the physicality or whatever. And also people like me, that is basically the opposite end of the spectrum. I started this sport when I was 24, and I set up a goal to become good before it was too late for me physically, which is basically 35. And I had no ball sports experience basically before I started the sport, so I was pretty damn bad at it. But it just became a personal challenge, and I don't need to go into my story here too much, but it became sort of a let's see if this works. I just went into it wholeheartedly because I wanted to do something physical anyway every day, and I was just thinking, if I'm gonna spend 1 or 2 hours working out every day, I might as well put all that energy and send it towards something rather than become kind of good at a lot of things. I would just like focus it on beach volleyball and just see what happened. The thing with me is that, at least I think, some of the best advice that that I gave myself was hey, like, go and read like a bunch of books. I've read like super thick like university books with research and stuff about like how our bodies learn new technique and movements, and a lot of sports psychology, a lot of personal development. I've listened to hundreds and thousands of hours of podcasts and whatnot, and basically I've listened to people like you're listening to now. These kind of thoughts, these kind of deeper thoughts, is what I've listened to a lot, and I believe they have saved me a lot of time. So, but the thing is that no coach would have ever told me like, hey, go and read like these 10 books. It's gonna take you a year. Like, that's just not advice that a beach volleyball coach gives. Hey, go listen to this audio program. It's just 100 hours. People struggle watching like a 15-minute video like this. If you imagine how many hours I've listened to stuff like this. Anyway, for people that are really want to look differently and really are stoked to get good at this sport quickly, I think that's one of the smartest things to do. That's why I create this content. That's why I'm gonna create even more of it. That's why I'm gonna start a podcast, so that I can have an easier way to give sort of deeper thoughts like this, etc. So yeah, in a way the low motivation people and the very high motivation people usually, according to me at least, don't tend to get the optimal tips from just some random beach volleyball coach that just has this one way of thinking forward. So for me personally, as a beach volleyball coach, I love this fact that it's this complicated. I love this fact that I'm basically forced to, as a coach, and I coach basically everyone, different levels, different motivations, whatnot. I'm basically forced to see so many different paths to go forward. I'm basically forced to see what is the most optimal thing for this person, what's the most optimal thing for that person. So this path, when someone else might just have one path forward, I have like hundreds of them. And the thing is that those hundreds of paths, they take time to develop. So there's just a lot of time, my mind just basically works the way that when I'm just doing something in life, maybe I'm biking to the beach volleyball courts, my mind is like thinking about this kind of things. It's like I have like insights like, oh, that's how I should do with this player that I'm coaching, or that's how I should move forward, or maybe that's what I should try next, or whatever. So a lot of my work with this, basically this project and me as a beach volleyball coach and this channel and everything, a lot of that work actually happens just in everyday life, when I'm biking, when I'm taking a shower. Maybe I read something online, some article, and then I think about it, and then I apply it to beach volleyball somehow. And a lot of, I would say probably 90% of the work that I do on this channel is not sitting and recording or editing videos or posting on to Facebook or anything like that. It's just this thought work that goes into it. And someone has said, as a coach, you never get done. Like, you're always gonna learn more and more and more. And that's what I do. Every time I have a new type of player with their new own challenges and whatnot, then it's basically opening up a new path to move forward for me. And I really enjoy that process, and I hope that more people would too. It's life is complicated, and that's what makes it so interesting and fun. Like, I really hope that if some coach is watching this, that you start thinking more this way. There's not only one way forward. There's a lot of different ways, and your players are gonna appreciate that you actually take the time to set up a plan for them, because they're not necessarily just a cookie cutter player that just needs the same answers as everybody else. And there's more layers to this as well. Like, because beach volleyball is basically just a part of life. So I talked about motivation before. Like, some player might not have the motivation to go to the gym because they basically don't want to do that. They just want to play and have fun. And well, I see at least my role as a coach to at least have some basic knowledge. Well, motivation stuff is kind of stuff that I've also studied, so maybe even more than basic knowledge, who knows. But just in like talking with people, like why is that the case? Why don't you like going to the gym, and how could we make that better, etc., etc., etc. Like, I don't think that just because something is what it is in outside of beach volleyball that it has to be that way. If I can help someone find the motivation to go to the gym, I'll do that. I'll see that as a part of my job. And another thing is also, earlier I said that I've listened to a lot of podcasts and read books and whatnot, and that really also takes motivation to go through and do that. And then I sort of actually laughed at people not being able to watch a 15-minute video like this, which is actually not at all good for me. That's a personal problem that I should work on, because there's nothing to laugh about. I absolutely know that perspective myself too, where listening to some random guy rambling about some sort of philosophical beach volleyball shit for 15 minutes just makes absolutely no sense. Like, show me just how to pass the ball or hit the ball. Like, stop rambling. So I absolutely know that perspective too, and I've been there myself. And fortunately, I was fortunate enough to have someone teach me the value of this kind of bigger picture thinking, and teach me the value of learning things that pays over and over again. Let's go back. The last money example I gave you, coming up with an idea that pays over and over, like designing your special knife that you earn money over and over and over again. Philosophy and bigger thinking like this, personal development, it's a little bit like that. It's one idea that doesn't necessarily like give you something straight away, but it like helps you a little bit every single day, and it like pays you over and over and over and over and over again. And I hope you see that how it's similar. It just basically pays you over and over and over again. And I was fortunate enough to have mentors and people that taught me this way of thinking, told me that, hey, yeah, reading a book now, it might feel like it's not worth it. It might feel like it sucks. But what if it makes you 20% more efficient in practice for the rest of your life? Basically, every hour you go and practice, you earn 20% more skills than everybody else. Wouldn't that be worth it? Because if you do the math, maybe it takes you 8 hours to read a book. Ah, shit, I'm killing myself with math here. But whatever, 20%. Okay, let's say that once you practiced 100 hours, then you have earned 20% on that, so you earn 20 hours. So already then it's more than doubled after 100 hours of practice. So basically in a few months, that the hours that you put into reading that book have already paid, but they continues paying for the rest of your life. After a few years, after a decade, whatever, you might have literally saved years because of those 8 hours that you put into reading that book. So yeah, if I'm coaching someone that says that they have high motivation to get good at this sport, and I think the smartest thing for them is to listen to some podcasts, maybe read some books, maybe watch some of these deeper videos of mine, and I see that they don't have the motivation to do that, I find it's my job to get them motivated to do that as a coach, because I can't truly say that I'm helping them learn beach volleyball as fast as possible if I don't try to actually show them the path that I believe is the most efficient for them. Okay, I hope this makes sense, and I hope it gives you some new thoughts, and I hope it will help you a lot in the future. Of course, learn beach volleyball fast is even more complicated than that. There's even more. So this is sort of just a view on how to move forward in your actions to become a better player. But learn beach volleyball fast is a lot more to it. It's also the science of how to basically learn technique as fast as possible, which is a complete another layer, which just accelerates your learning in the sport. I'm gonna have a lot of content around that, and courses and whatnot. Also, learn beach volleyball fast for me is accurate information on the skills in beach volleyball. I find a lot of inaccuracy throughout the beach volleyball world on online videos and coaching and whatnot. Like I can't count how many times I've seen coaches say something, this is how you do it, and then when they do it differently. And I've certainly been a part of that too. That's just unfortunately there's something about humans. We are sort of sometimes not very good at knowing what we're doing. So it takes a lot of inspection, a lot of just looking at yourself, analyzing and whatnot to sometimes even know what you're actually doing when it works. But yeah, for me, like finding more and more accuracy in descriptions of how skills are best done is also a big part of Learn Beach Volleyball Fast. And also more of a holistic picture of like how you live your life. I just did the longer video on the beach accelerator video. If you haven't seen that, you should probably go and watch it, because it's there I just explain like a kind of what I've been explaining now, but on an even bigger level in a way. Another of those videos that might not feel like it's worthwhile watching, but you'll understand over time that fucking shit, I've just saved years because of it. So yeah, that was a lot of rambling from me again. As I said, I was in a deeper mood today. Wanted to just sit here and ramble a little bit. The reason I'm creating a podcast soon is literally so that it's easier for people to watch these ramblings. Basically, I have a lot of content like this that I want to create, and I have a lot of discussions with people I want to have, but basically it's easier to listen to this kind of shit and as a podcast that you can listen to on the go, on the way to practice or whatever, rather than sit at your computer in front of YouTube. Hopefully maybe you have listened to this in the background too. Anyway, I hope these ramblings will help you. I hope you see some immediate value in them, and if not, I hope you will start seeing value in them in the long run. Thanks for watching, and if this was the first video you've ever seen of me, not all of my content is like this. I also have very practical beach volleyball information, so but this is the little bit deeper side of me. I could probably go even deeper, but yeah, this is probably the kind of stuff that nobody else does in the beach volleyball world. So yeah, I think most of the stuff I do is stuff that nobody else does in the beach volleyball world. So follow the project if it seems intriguing, if you think that I might be able to help you move forward as a beach volleyball player. Also, as always, share this video to friends, because literally these deeper types of things, thoughts, might be harder to share with friends in some senses, because well, it's just easier to share like, hey, here's how you pass, than something nerdy like this. But once you and your friends get like synced in these kind of thoughts, playing this sport becomes so much more fun. Discussions you guys can have get so much deeper, so much interesting, so much more fun, so much more valuable. So yeah, it's almost like I would recommend people even more to share these kinds of videos with their friends, just to get synced with their friends in how you think about beach volleyball than the other types of stuff. But of course, any sort of share is, I tend to explain that it's a win-win-win. You win because your friends will be more synced with you. Your friend will win because they will get more synced with you, as well as hopefully smarter and better at thinking around beach volleyball. I win because this project grows, but that also means that you and your friend win, because the faster this project grows, the more able I will be to create more videos like this. And everybody else in the beach volleyball world wins, because the faster this project grows, the more content I'm able to produce, and the better, higher quality content I can produce, well, basically better for everybody, because nobody has done an in-depth beach volleyball project online ever yet. And I'm basically on a mission to do that. But to do that, I have literally hundreds of hours of content that I want to create, and that basically takes time. So the faster I can get to a point where I can start hiring video editors and help with this kind of stuff, the faster I'll be able to create it. It's it's a little bit interesting because I see that basically everyone else that's doing something like this, they also have playing careers, and they just don't have time to create the videos. And I have a playing career too, which will get more and more busy with the years. But I'm really gonna try to set up a system where I can still produce these videos and not just stop producing videos just because my playing career takes a lot of time. But yeah, I need to be smart about it so that I can continue producing content for people, even though I also want to play the game. But the faster this project grows, the easier that's going to be for me to do. So I hope you see it's a win for everybody. I also have a Facebook group that you can join. I also have an email newsletter, where everyone who signs up for that will get better deals earlier than everybody else on courses and whatnot. So sign up for those things. Join the Facebook group if you want to join the discussions in there. Cool. Thanks for listening. Hope these ramblings give you some value. I'll see you in the next video. Hey, so I'm on my way home. I just had an insight that I need to add into this video. I just said that reading certain types of information can be like the money making knife. You just earn over and over and over and over again by knowing that information. Next level to that is setting up systems in your life where you basically automatically get to consume content that gives you those ideas. So for an example, getting used to listening to podcasts every day when you shower, or getting used to listening to podcasts that give you these sorts of ideas every time you bike to practice. You see, this is not you taking off time separately to read a book. It just literally happens automatically once you get used to living your life like that. And I hope you see that that's a system that once you set it up, it just continues. It continues. I know that next week I'm gonna have some amazing insights because of some podcasts that I'm gonna listen to, just because I know that I do it automatically. And I know that in a half a year I'll sit and record a video for this YouTube channel with some crazy thoughts that I haven't had ever before, just because I know that I'm gonna continue listening to podcasts. Those are gonna give me ideas that are then gonna fall into pieces and insights that I'm then gonna share with you guys. So I've set up my life in a way that has a system of me basically getting smarter and smarter without any effort, because it just happens automatically. I do it every day and I don't think about it. I don't need to put any energy into it, and I enjoy it. It's not hard work. I enjoy it, and it's fun to listen to those things. That right there is one of the biggest life hacks I've ever heard in my life. It's not my original thoughts. People smarter than me that have thought it up before me. But yeah, that's a free one for you. I'll probably make maybe more content around that one idea in the future, but that's another reason why I'm starting a podcast, so that you can continually have these insights basically in your everyday life with no effort needed. So now if we thought about this example in the money-making example, if we went the other way in our examples, this would basically be the equivalent of having an automated system that with no effort creates more and more and more of these business ideas that then, once you start those businesses, produce money on continually, over and over. The more knives you sell, the more computers you sell, the more ideas you sell, etc. That's another podcast I could create, actually. Because there are ways to automate your mind so that happens, but that's for another one.